Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we will discuss the difference between Excel table and pivot table, and also I will help you understand the source data which I will be using for this video, and also I will show you how to convert a normal cells of data into a table, and I will show you how to insert a pivot table, and I will help you understand what are the fields list in pivot table, and also I will help you understand what are rows, columns, filters, and values in pivot table. Right. So first, let us understand the difference between normal Excel table and pivot table. Right. So here is the main difference. So in Excel table, we can manage and analyze data independently of data outside the table. Whereas in pivot table, we can display only the exact data which we want to analyze, right? When it comes to Excel table, we can apply one of many table formats to make data easier to view and scan. And in the pivot table, we can pivot the data to view it from different angles. And in a normal Excel table, add calculated columns to instantly calculate values, and in pivot table focus on specific data details by expanding or collapsing data or by applying filters. And in the Excel table, use a total row to quickly calculate and view totals, whereas in pivot table make data comparisons. And in Excel table, filter data in table columns to display only data that you want to analyze, whereas in pivot table detect data patterns, relationships, and data trends. So let us understand everything now in real time. So I will help you understand one by one. And now let us go to the second step, which is understanding source data. So to give you as an example, I have taken this source data. So this is basically IMDb movie database. So I hope you are familiar with this IMDb website. So which is basically a movie rating website where all the movies will be listed out and we can give ratings on the movies, right? So here to help you understand the data source. So here I have the titles of the movies, I have the release dates, I have the color black and white, and genres, language, country, ratings, lead actor, director name, lead actor FB likes, cast FB likes, director FB likes, movie FB likes, and also I have the IMDb score which is rated from 1 to 10, and total reviews to the movie, duration of the movie, gross revenue, and budget. Right? So these are the fields which I have in my source data, right? So now, what is the next step? We need to convert this entire cells of data into a table. So as I said in my previous video, this is not a table. This is only a cells of data, right? For Excel, this is not a table, right? So first we need to convert this into a table. To convert this into a table, select any cell and click on Control T. So for creating a table, the shortcut is Control T, right? So here you can see Excel has we got a pop-up here after pressing Control T. So what does this mean? So this is the reference of this table which Excel has automatically selected. If you are not satisfied with this selection, either you can delete this and you can manually select your selection, right? So press Ctrl Shift and right, and press Ctrl Shift and down, and your entire table will be selected, right? So we have 3726 rows of data, right? So my entire table has been selected now, right? So after selecting the entire entire data, you can check this headers because we are having headers here, right? So you can check this and then you can click on OK. Now once you click on OK, our cells of data will be converted into a table, right? So this is how that Excel table will look like. So to know if to confirm if this is a table or not, the simple technique which I said in my previous video, click anywhere in the table and you will see a new tab opening in the Excel ribbon, right? So if I click outside of this table, you will see there is no tab displayed here, right? So if I click here, you will see a new tab opening here, right? So that is how you can identify if it is a table or not. Right. Now that we have created a table, now it is time to rename our table. To rename this table, just click on the table design and here you will see the table name, which is by default it is taking as table 5. Now let us rename this table to IMDb. IMDb, right? So you will understand why I renamed this to IMDb later in the video. Right, now that we have renamed our table to IMDb, the next step is to insert the pivot table, right? So this is the fourth point, inserting a pivot table. So to insert a pivot table, you can go to the insert tab and you can click on the pivot table. So here we have two options. One is pivot table and second one is recommended pivot table, right? So as you see in the description, Excel is giving recommendations of pivot table, which you choose from. If I click on this, you will have different types of pivot table that you can choose from. So based upon your choice, you can choose from any of these recommended pivot tables, right? So, but my suggestion is to use the my suggestion is to create the pivot tables from scratch, right? So let us do that. So click on the pivot table option, and now you can see my table is getting referred here. So right, so we renamed our table, right? So IMDb was our table name which we renamed it. So when creating the pivot table, Excel will take this table as a reference for creating the pivot table, right? So that is why we are seeing our pivot table, we are seeing here the table name. Now the next option is choose where you want the pivot table to be placed. So this will be the default option with this new worksheet, and it is better to go with a new worksheet, because if we choose this existing worksheet, your table will get replaced with a pivot table, right? So that is why we will be going with the new worksheet option. Now after that, click on OK. Now once you click on OK, you will see the pivot table dashboard gets open, right? And you can also see here there is a new tab open here which is pivot table analyze, right? So this is where we will be creating our pivot table now, right? So let us rename this to pivot table so that it is easy to understand. Right now, here you can see there is a blank table, right? We don't have anything here. It is just a blank table, right? So if I click on here the box will open, which is called pivot table fields. So this is where all the action begins. So here only we need to choose the entire set of data. So let us understand one by one. So the first option is search box. So before the understanding the search, let us understand this uh, check boxes here. So why are we getting these check boxes? Because whenever as I said in the starting, while creating the pivot table, we referred our table to create a pivot table, right? So because we referred our entire table to create a pivot table, all the headers that are there in the all the fields that are there in the table are now are now can be seen in the pivot table fields, right? Now you can see we have everything that is there in the table here, from title, release date, everything we have listed in the pivot table fields. Now you can see whatever options we have in the table all are listed here in the pivot table fields, right? So that is the reason we connected our table to pivot table. Now suppose if the fields are long, and if you want to simply write down here, so suppose we want to select the budget field. So instead of scrolling this long, what you can simply do is you can type here budget, and now you can see we can directly select from here, right? So that is the main reason of this search bar here, right? Instead of scrolling like this, you can simply type anything here, for example title, then you will directly get this option here, right? So that is the use of the search bar, right? Now what else? Right now let us understand the fields list here, right? So so these are the fields list which we have here. The first is the search bar, second is the check boxes which we got it from our table, and the next one is understanding the rows, columns, filters and values in pivot table, right? So after these two options we have four fields here. The first is filters, second is columns, third is rows and fourth is values. Now, first let's understand what is rows and columns. So in the rows and columns we can only use the text field options, right? So we can only use text based options. But when it comes to the values field, we can only use numeric uh, based options, numeric fields options, right? So let us understand this in a better way. So I will show you in the real time example. So what are the text-based fields here? So the title is a text-based field. The color and black and white is a text-based field. So the genre is a text-based field. But what are the values field? What are the numeric fields? Budget is a numeric field. Gross revenue is a numeric field, right? Duration is a numeric field. Total reviews is a numeric field, right? So uh, based on the values here, based on the fields, we need to insert our values here, right? For example, let us insert something in the rows section, right? To insert any field into the row section, what you need to do is, for example, let us insert the genre field here. So to insert anything, you need to simply click on it and drag it till the rows section. And now you can see we inserted our genre here in the rows section, right? Now suppose if you want to insert anything in the column section, so you can simply click on this. Suppose let us insert this color black and white in the column section, right? So let us bring this to the column section, and now you can see we inserted the black and white and color in the column section, right? So in the column section all the fields will be displayed horizontally, and in the rows section all the fields will be displayed vertically, right? Now suppose if you want to remove any of these fields from the sections here, right? Suppose I want to remove this color black and white from this column section. What you can do is simply either you can use this remove field option, or else you can simply click on it and bring it here, and that section will be removed, right? So that is how you can use it. Now suppose let us remove this, so let us add the country field to the column section. So what we need to do, you need to simply select this and drag it in the column section, and now you can see all the country names are displayed in the column section, right? Everything is displayed horizontally, right? Now let us add something in the values field, right? So in the values field, let us add the budget. Let us drag this here and let us add the budget. Now you can see here we added the budget. So to understand this data, so here we added the budget. What does this mean? So for example, let us take Afghanistan, right? Afghanistan country has movies in drama genre and it has a total budget of 46,000, right? So that is the exact meaning of this. So Argentina has made movies in crime genre and drama genre. So what is the budget they have? What is the overall budget they allocated to the crime movies? Which is something 15 crores or something, right? That is how we need to understand this data. And here you can see the grand total, right? Excel pivot tables has automatically calculated this grand total here, right? So if you want to remove this field, just simply click on it, click on this remove field, and the data will be removed. Now I want to add the color black and white here, right? So here I will add this in the let us add this, let us remove this from here and let us add this from in the rows section. Now you can see we differentiated this, we added, now we have two fields in the rows, one is genre and other one is color and black and white, right? Now once again let us add the gross revenue here in the values field. Now you can see previously we added budget, now we added the gross revenue. So here you can understand. So the black and white movies for Australia has the gross revenue. This is the gross revenue for black and white movies under the genre action, and under the uh, what is this, under the color film, under the genre action, this is the gross revenue for Australia country, right? So this is how you can actually segment your fields and sections accordingly in the pivot table, right? So this is how, like, you can differentiate, you can utilize the data which you want to display in the pivot table. You can even hide these tables, right? You can even hide this, and if you want to remove anything, you can simply remove it from here. And now you can see we only have the overall gross revenue for this genres here, right? And also here you can see for under action we have black and white and color, and this is the gross revenue for black and white, and this is the gross revenue for color movies under action genre, right? Now, and so we understood rows, columns, and values, right? Now let us understand what are filters, right? So let us add something under the filter section here. So, so what do we add here? So let us add the rating under filter section here, right? Now we have added the ratings field under filter section. So here you can see we got the filter section here. So if I click on this, you will see all the ratings that are available in the rating section here, right? Now let us apply any one rating and see what happens to our data here. Now currently we have uh, this many uh, this data applied, right? So currently we have genre and gross revenues, right? So let me minimize everything and let us apply the filter for this selection. Now you can see this is the overall value here, overall grand total here. We can also convert this into any currency, right? So now I have converted this into a rupees, right? So let me remove the decimals. Right, now let us apply the filter here. So the ratings here I am giving only approved. The films I want to see the genres which are only approved rating, which have only approved ratings, right? So now I am selecting this and I am clicking on OK. And now you can see our data got minimized, right? Why? Because we applied the filter here. We applied the approved filter here. That is why our pivot table has given this results. That means only the genres that are approved are getting displayed here, right? Now suppose if I change this to past. Instead of approved, I am selecting past. And now you can see pivot table is only giving me those values that are filtered under past. Only these genre movies which have past ratings are getting displayed here, right? So, for example, but if you want to select multiple items here, now that we only selected the past filter, but if you want to select multiple items, so you can simply select this option and select any multiple items here. Now I'm selecting approved and past, and I'm clicking on OK. And now you can see there are multiple items selected here. One is approved and passed, right? Now you can see based on our selection, pivot table is displaying those genre movies that have ratings approved and passed, right? So that is how you can use this filter option. Now you can ask me what is the difference between this filter and this filter, right? So there are two filters here. One filter which we applied from the pivot tables and from here, and the other filter which is there in the pivot table, right? So this is actually not a pivot table, it is just a filter which we applied from here. So this filter is coming from the pivot table, right? So if I select this, you will only see the filters that are available in this genre, right? You won't see anything else. You only see the filter values that are available in the genre section, right? But if I click here, you will only see the filters that we selected here, right? Whatever the ratings filter which we selected here, only those fields you will be seeing in the filter section, right? So that is the main difference here between this filter and this filter, right? So that is the basic idea of what we have under the pivot table fields. So what is the first one? The first is search bar. So you can use this to select any fields from here instead of scrolling the entire screen. And the coming to the field section, we have rows and columns where you can use the text-based fields, and when it comes to the values section, you can use the numeric fields, and when it comes to the filter section, you can use any use any sections that you can actually filter from, right? So these are few basic things which you need to know while working with pivot tables, right? So these are the topics which we learned today. We understood the difference between Excel table and pivot table, and we also understood the source data that we used to working with the pivot table. And I also showed you how to convert a normal table, a normal set of data, cells of data into a table, right? And also I showed you how to insert a pivot table, and we also looked at the fields list. So these are the fields which we have in the pivot table, and also we understood each and every section, that is rows, columns, values and filters, right? So I hope you understood the basic learnings of pivot tables, and how to use the table, how to connect a table to a pivot table, and how to use these options in the pivot table, right? So in our next video, we will learn about clear, select and move functions in the pivot table. So I hope you understood this today's video. If you have any questions, please put it down in the comment section. I will answer them. And if you find this video to be informative and useful to you, then please consider subscribing to my channel so that I can make much more interesting videos on Excel. Thank you.